I'm not a lawyer, but Terius Diamant, aka The Dream, was sued in federal court today, and I read all 60 pages, so let me tell you what's being alleged. First of all, I thought his name was Terius Nash. So The Dream, along with his company Contra Paris and Epic Records, are being sued by a woman named Chanaaz Mangrove, aka Chanaaz Mangrove. Lawsuit starts off highlighting Dream's success as a singer, songwriter, and producer, while also calling out an arrest on felony assault, strangulation, reckless endangerment, and child endangerment of his girlfriend who was pregnant at the time. Chanaaz, on the other hand, is detailed as an aspiring songwriter from the Netherlands who at the age of 21 signed a production deal with US-based company Shapiro Bernstein and Company. And as a result of that deal, she was awarded a 3-year O-1B visa that allowed her to begin frequently working in the US. So the visa was set from 2012 through 2015. And in late 2014, which is getting close to the time her visa is expiring, the suit says that she's 23 at the time, and she gets contacted by the Dream's childhood friend and personal security guard, Chris Garland. He reaches out on Instagram and asks her to send him some music that he could share with the Dream's manager. So Chanaaz shares the music, and on January 29, 2015, she is flown out to Atlanta. She's first told that the Dream needs to see how she handles herself in a club atmosphere. So over the course of the first few days, goes to the club with the Dream, Garland, the security guard, and Dream's creative partner, whose name is Tricky. She also goes to an Atlanta Hawks game with a gentleman's club and also gets some time in the studio to record some music, which according to her, she's never been properly credited or paid for. So after all of those festivities, and apparently having passed all of the Dream's tests, he eventually reaches out directly to Chanaaz via text for the first time saying, quote, "Do you have a boyfriend? Boyfriends aren't allowed. It's a distraction." The trip continues, and as it gets closer for the trip to end, Chanaaz is told that the Dream wants to sign her to his label, Contra Paris. Now at this point, again, Chanaaz's visa is close to expiring, and she has begun speaking to several well-known producers about potential next steps and sponsorship for her visa renewal. So she wanted to make sure that Dream was serious, and after he assured her that he was and that he planned to sign her, and she was all in. But from there, the lawsuit says that the Dream begins using his relationship with artists like Beyonce and Rihanna to manipulate and coerce her. He allegedly told her that in order to write songs for her, he needed to know everything about her, including everything that embarrassed her, upset her, angered her, and excited her. The lawsuit says that the Dream told Chanaaz that she needed to, quote, belong to him so that they could become the next Beyonce and Jay-Z, and that the only reason he achieved such great success with Beyonce is because they created a, quote, sanctuary together, which allowed him to know Beyonce in a way that others could not, and that's why he writes the best songs for her. Dream allegedly explained that a sanctuary was even stronger than a spousal connection because it was about art. He said that his relationship with Beyonce was so close that he knew about Beyonce's pregnancy before her husband, Jay-Z. The lawsuit goes on to say that the Dream told Chanaaz if she, quote, acted right, he would share the specific formula that he uses with Beyonce, and that she and Beyonce would be the only two artists with these industry secrets. In another example of what the suit alleges was emotional manipulation and coercion, it says that the Dream frequently pitted Rihanna against Beyonce, implying that Rihanna was fighting for his attention and was frustrated that he was giving it to Beyonce instead of her. The lawsuit says that the Dream told Chanaaz that Rihanna was begging him for good records, but because of his special, quote, sanctuary relationship with Beyonce, he would save them for Beyonce, and that Chanaaz could be a part of this as well. The lawsuit goes on to detail more things that the Dream allegedly said about Rihanna and Beyonce, including that Rihanna was possessive over him and would frequently send him flowers and other gifts, reiterating that Rihanna had to, quote, work to make the Dream give her hit records, and while all of this was happening, the Dream was choosing to instead work with Chanaaz on her new records. So the lawsuit says through manipulation and coercion, the Dream led Chanaaz to believe that if she allowed him to completely control every aspect of her life, the two of them could create the ultimate sanctuary that would surpass anything he accomplished with Beyonce or Rihanna. According to the lawsuit, he goes on to say that he was working on Beyonce's new tour and that if everything went well, Chanaaz could open for Beyonce on her tour, but shared this promise only in the context of, quote, his emotional manipulation of her. Here's a screenshot of one of the alleged messages that the Dream sent to Chanaaz, which says, "I think the more freedom you give me, the more relationships I will be able to put you through and in. I'm a straightforward person. Things like Beyonce opening isn't a big deal to get it done. That's my family. The suit says that the dream instilled in Shani that she should be grateful for his efforts to help her, emphasizing that her success was only possible thanks to him. All right, so on February 4th, 2015, while at the studio, the lawsuit says that the dream complained that Shani needed to loosen up, so he pressured her to drink, smoke, and engage with him, assuring her that it would enhance the quality of the music and reminding her of the sanctuary that he had led her into. He, according to the docs, took her to a pitch black bedroom and coerced her into engaging with him. And when others began looking for where he was, the suit says he locked Shani in the room unclothed, went back to the studio to do what he needed to do, then came back to the room, engaged with her again, locked her in the room again, and then repeated this cycle back and forth for hours. When she finally left the room, the lawsuit says it was 6 a.m., and although she was tired and confused, she tried to remain grateful and hopeful for what she believed was her big break. So as this dynamic continues, the lawsuit says Dream would send explicit text messages mixed in with promises about Shani's forthcoming record deal, which according to the lawsuit was a tactic to manipulate her. A February 14th text message from the Dream allegedly read, "Your life is now you have way more room, but I will care about those things in your life like they are my own. Your mother is my mother. Your father, your brother, your friends are mine. Your enemies I will inherit as my enemies." And when Shani said she did not understand, the Dream responded, "This is that other, blood in, blood out." On February 17, 2015, Shani goes to Amsterdam, and when she returned to Atlanta on February 21st, the lawsuit says she was put in an isolated residence inn where she could not drive and had to rely on the Dream for money for all of her expenses. She allegedly had to regularly send text messages expressing how grateful and thankful she was to the Dream and buying him flowers to express her gratitude. She wasn't allowed to attend events or go to the clubs, and she was regularly asked what she was eating and told to go to the gym. The suit details multiple examples of the Dream allegedly berating Shani, demanding she engage with him whenever he wanted, and after a pregnancy scare, the lawsuit alleges that the Dream screamed at Shani for almost an hour because he said it was, quote, an insult to him that she was happy that she was not pregnant by him. It also says that the Dream told Shani it was her fault that Beyonce's album was delayed and he had the right to tell her what to do to make it up to him, allegedly demanding that she apologize while he forced her to do what he wanted. There are examples of more threatening and violent interactions, graphic text messages, eventually to the point that Shani says she had become so isolated and dependent on the Dream for food and shelter in such a short period of time that it became increasingly difficult for her to comprehend the reality of her situation. Paragraph 161 of the lawsuit is, quote, "The Dream, who was married, had a child on the way in May of 2015, so he was more distracted than usual. Shani used that time to ask if she could leave for a few days to visit her mother. Dream told her that she could only go home if she left all her belongings with Garland, the security guard." There are more violent encounters alleged, including an incident in a movie theater where after refusing an interaction with the Dream, he allegedly got angry and then forced one with her. In one April 2015 text message, after asking the Dream about an interview where he didn't mention Shani as his new artist, the Dream allegedly flew into a rage and then refused to speak to Shani for several days. Garland told her that in order to make amends, she needed to show she was humble, show her passion and loyalty, and provide a gift to Dream as a peace offering. And then on April 21st, 2015, while she was in Amsterdam, Shani finally signed a recording and shopping contract with Contra, which allowed them a 6-month period to negotiate a distribution agreement. A short time later, on May 1st, Shani signs a deal with Epic Records, and on that same day, Dream allegedly texts her, quote, "It will always be mine, not just all of you, your blood, your mind, your heart." Lawsuit says that the Dream maintained complete control over communications concerning Shani's deal with Epic. He refused to connect her directly to anyone and even refused to include her in email or text exchange with the executives from the deal that she was now signed to. In late May of 2015, there was a meeting at Epic Records with L.A. Reid, during which the suit alleges that L.A. Reid complimented Shani, which upset the Dream, and allegedly led him to violently and forcefully engage with her again, but this time in a recording booth. Over the next few months, the lawsuit says that Shani was curious about starting to record her music, but she was too afraid to ask because the Dream took it as disrespect. During another alleged violent encounter that's detailed in the lawsuit, it says that the Dream purposely banged Shani's face on a sink in a bathroom, causing her right eye to swell and bruise. On or around August 15, 2015, the lawsuit says the Dream told Shani to meet him at the studio. So she goes to a studio named Silent Studios, but the Dream never shows up. Following day, the Dream allegedly texts her, quote, "I don't feel like we have the same interest for each other. Dropped something yesterday and waited on you and didn't hear a word. We had a good ride, but truthfully, I can't do it for you, and it's lopsided. Shani responded that she went to the studio, but the dream never showed up, to which the dream allegedly responded that he was at Red Zone Studio and she should have known to ask him which studio he meant instead of assuming. He then said, quote, "Please end text after this and have whoever else contact me from now on. Thank you and good night, and you're welcome. Don't contact me about anything about this album, and if you want to have a respectful conversation with me, I'll let you know when I get the time, but not right now." So following this, Shani begins telling multiple people, including people at Epic Records, about the abuse that she had been experiencing at the hands of the dream. She books her own hotel and expresses that she needs to get away from him. She gets a new manager, but the suit says that the dream withheld the music that she had recorded and refused to meet with her. When November comes around, she finally has a meeting back at Epic, including with L.A. Reid, but her new manager doesn't show. At that time, L.A. Reid agrees that Shani should work with new producers, but by early December, he changes his mind and says that the dream should still be involved in Shani's project. More time passes, and then in June, the dream called her to say that Epic Records was washing their hands of her. A short time later, on July 15th, 2016, Shani gets official word that Epic Records no longer wants to distribute her music. Within a few short weeks of being notified that Epic was done, Shani gets notified that her team and her management team also don't want to proceed with her. Shani says as a result of the abuse, pain, and devastation that she's endured, her life will never be the same. She says she's lost a decade of her life due to Dream's abuse and the willingness of Contra, Epic, and Reid to look the other way. So she's suing for trafficking under 18, battery, and more. The Dream has responded to these allegations, saying that these claims are untrue and defamatory. He says, quote, "I oppose all forms of harassment and have always strived to help people realize their career goals. As someone committed to making a positive impact on my fellow artists and the world at large, I am deeply offended and saddened by these accusations."